Hello and welcome from a very mild and wet Plymouth in the UK. Today is just running through a few seeds that I'm sowing, but not a long list, just the odd seeds that I think will bring you benefits and why those will bring you benefits. Just the suggestions that you may want to follow suit, and particularly if you suffer these particular problems that I do have. Also, I want to show you the modifications that I've made in the grow tent and in the greenhouse due to one of my subscribers' suggestions. I'll take them up and they've worked magnificently. Thank you very much, Elshine. Much appreciated. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get on with the video and show you what's going on. Well, it is now the 22nd of January, so I think it's time to start sowing some of the crops. And inside my little tent, it's working very well with the heat. And on the last video, Elshine brought up a really good point about changing the tray over from metal to plastic, but I don't have anything the right size. But what I have done is I've put a 1 centimetre thick piece of polystyrene between the metal and the mat, which should provide a nice thermal break, and I reckon that will do the same job of not having heat loss. That should work pretty well. I haven't put the light on yet because no need to, there's nothing growing. So this tent has performed really well during the recent cold snap. So well that the lowest temperature it went down to when the mat was on was about 6 degrees centigrade, whereas the actual greenhouse did go down to minus 0.5 at one stage. Now then, the background temperatures really show up well in a graphic that I've made up. This one here, the blue is the background temperature in the tent and the red is in the greenhouse, and you can see the difference that this setup actually makes. About 4 degrees on average. Really worthwhile. Now then, the cost of actually running this mat aren't very expensive at all. There's a gentleman whose video channel is named Mark's Allotment Plot has done the calculations on this. I've linked to his 2 videos below. The first one is on the grow mats, and that is working out at a cost of about £4 a month to have on 24 hours a day. That isn't too bad in my book, and for my personal hobby it's worth doing, considering this is the only heating I've got in the greenhouse. Now then, the lighting I have in this particular setup again works out about £2 per week if I kept it on for 12 hours a day, but I don't. I only keep it on for 3 hours at the moment, and it'll probably go up to about 4 hours a day, so considerably less. I think it's worth that cost to actually have on and grow all of my tender plants up to a reasonable size before they come out into the main bulk of the greenhouse. And here is the second suggestion from my wonderful subscriber, and that is to provide some thermal mass to keep the daytime heat within the greenhouse. So that, and coupled with the bubble wrap, should help keep the evening temperatures up by a couple of degrees. And it definitely did. During the cold spell, the background temperature inside the greenhouse was at least 2 degrees above that of the outside, and as soon as I introduced this thermal mass, it definitely increased. Well, I think this is a good time for a compost warning. The UK, we've had excessively wet weather in the autumn and early winter, and companies that have left out their compost in the rain, well, the bags will have soaked up a huge amount of moisture. This bag was put on the floor yesterday. You can see how much moisture has drained from this one sack. It's absolutely sodden inside. It will have stagnated, it will have gone anaerobic, it will be next to useless as a growing medium. No fault with the actual compost, everything to do with the moisture getting in that bag and making it go off. You are wasting your money if you buy heavy sacks of compost. Be very careful how you buy it. this winter. So be very careful where you buy it from. The Silver Grow was bought from a place that stores their compost over winter indoors, so that's not a problem. This was bought in the autumn before all the rains and stored in my greenhouse, so that would be no problem. Although if it contains a lot of green compost from the councils, that also has a life expectancy of its own, so there's another minefield there. This is getting beyond a joke, really. Anyway, all we can do is use what we're given and try and control the medium from a moisture perspective. Now then, you can have a go at making your own, which is in this sack here. I know it says Miracle-Gro peat-free organics. It's not actually, it's last year's compost filled up with my own ingredients, and they're in absolute superb condition. More on that in a following video. I've also got a reserve supply of compost that was used to grow potatoes in, and then I've repurposed it this year to also try it as well. More on that again in the cabbage sowing video to follow. Now then, I did promise you to go on about some varieties that I'm growing this year. This particular variety, Pearline, a tomato, it's not a cherry tomato, it's quite a large tomato. I don't know, that description is slightly wrong, but it's from DT Brown. Highly recommended. Really grew tasty, reliable tomatoes. I usually grow Gigantomo. This is a new one to me. I've had highly recommended. I can't even begin to pronounce that name, so I'm not going to. And then this is a cheap tomato from that they're pushing this year that also supposed to taste good. But you know what? Let's see how that goes. One particular onion seed that I want to recommend to you very highly is this one. Again from DT Brown. It's an onion redlander. Its qualities are that it's very downy, mildew resistant. So if you're somebody that suffers from that, and we do on our plants, it comes highly recommended. It also did not bolt in last year's sun, and then it stood well during the wet end of the season and produced good sized onion bulbs that have lasted well in storage. They don't show any signs of going off or bolting, signs of going off or sprouting. And yeah, I'm really pleased with these. The taste is typical onion, you know, there's nothing to be gained there, but they're good hard onions, good for cooking. Yeah, highly recommended. Last but not least in this bounce around video is, if you want some pots to be reused, any good garden centre will have one of these, and it's just a recycling centre. You can help yourself or donate pots.
Thank you very much for joining me today. Hopefully you found it of some use, of some interest. If you've got any questions, please ask in the comments below. If you aren't a subscriber already, please do join. It's free. It's non-obligatory. You don't have to watch my videos. You don't have to agree with what I suggest. It's just information that you guys can actually choose to act on or not. It's your choice. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you on the next video, and the next video inside this greenhouse will be the compost trials. Now that is definitely going to be interesting, even if it all big fail. It's all about finding out what works and what doesn't work. See you next time, guys. Bye bye.